This meeting is being held in compliance with the Brown Act. SCAG offices are open for members of the public to attend and participate in person. Instructions for providing public comment have been provided in advance and are also included in the agenda packet. Members of the public participating remotely should ensure their microphone is muted when not in use. Any member of the public calling into this meeting by telephone can press *6 to mute and unmute. All telephone participants should identify themselves prior to speaking. SCAG encourages all members of the public to participate in its meetings. We are committed to holding meetings accessible to people with disabilities. For members of the public requiring ADA accommodation, please call 213-236-1895. SCAG offers free interpretation services for members of the public needing information in another language. Please call 213-236-1895. The meeting will now begin.
All right, welcome and good morning. I know you might be thinking that doesn't look like President Marquez. But today is Thursday, June 4th, 2026. In order to ensure we have a quorum of members present, please remember to put your card in the voting machine. Thank you very much. And with that, our regional council meeting is called to order. Past President Allen, would you please lead us in the flag salute?
Stand up if you're able to, face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. And again, if you haven't put your card into the reader, please do so we can confirm quorum. And with that, Madam Clerk, can you confirm quorum?
Madam Chair, we do have a quorum.
All right, thank you very much. Board Council Duran, would you let us know if we have members participating by ADA or Just Cause?
Yes, thank you, Madam Vice President. ADA, I haven't heard.
ADA Frank Navarro.
Okay, so Mayor Navarro has requested accommodations under the Americans with Disabilities Act. And then, as you noted, President Marquez is unable to join us due to a medical emergency. He is able to appear remotely, and so you see him there on the screen. He's making his request via me. And so at your discretion, we'll allow that. Second member, Mr. Shapiro, has likewise had a medical emergency come up that he needs to take care of this afternoon, was unable to make it to downtown Los Angeles. So with your permission, we'll let them both participate using the Just Cause exemption.
Sounds good to me.
Thank you.
All right, I will now open the public comment period of the meeting. Staff, have we received any written public comment?
Madam Vice Chair, we do have one written public comment related to RHNA on consent calendar item number 2. And that is all for the Regional Council.
Thank you very much.
Before and after the deadline.
All right, and then did we have any members of the public who are wishing to speak?
We have not received any public comment speaker cards.
Okay. With that, are there any agenda items that we need to review or prioritize?
Not at this time, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you very much. And then that brings us to our chair's reports. The first item on the reports is our policy committee. So I will call on each chair. So first, the Honorable Rocky Rhodes, Chair of the Community Economy and Human Development Committee.
Thank you, Ms. Vice President. Today, the CEHD Policy Committee was hard at work approving 2 action items and hearings, 1 informational item that got pushed on Connect SoCal. Our first action item our first action item approved a recommendation to this body on the composition and approach for SCAG's forthcoming RENA subcommittee. Mayanne Johnson, SCAG's Housing Department Manager, provided a presentation on this subcommittee process that informed the recommendation we have sent to you today. Next, CHD heard an action item on SCAG's approach and methodology as it relates to Senate Bill 79. This bill was signed by Governor Newsom in 2025 and established new development and mapping requirements near transit-oriented developments, stops and zones. SCAG released its SB 79 methodology on May 22nd and the draft SB 79 map on June 1st. SCAG has also asked for corrections to be sent to staff by June 12th, 2026. And that ends my report.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Rhodes. Next, we'll have the Honorable Rick Dennison, Chair of the Energy Environment Committee.
Thank you, Vice President. So today in the EEC, there were 4 information items. The first was an update on the progress implementing the Connect SoCal 2024, the implementation strategies of that. Second item focused on current and anticipated transportation and conformity challenges within our region. The next one was pretty good for all of us. I was very interested. This was followed up by an update on innovative clean transit regional assessment study, which talked about a lot of our micro transit issues, small buses, larger buses, and the systems they use to propel those units. And just looking at the entire infrastructure of it was very well presented. The final item, which I know we all heard about it, it's the hot buzz right now. They provided an overview on the evolving policy for water and energy implications of AI data centers. Very well done. Be advised, take a look at that if you haven't seen the deep dives that these speakers had on their presentation. It's available in the agenda from the EEC. And that's it, Madam Vice President.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Dennison. And finally, we will hear from the Honorable Mike T. Judge, Chair of the Transportation Committee.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. The Transportation Committee took action to appoint a new vice chairman to the committee. Committee member Stephen Lee was appointed to serve out the term vacated by our Regional Council member Thomas Wong. Thank you to Member Wong and congratulations to Stephen Lee, a Regional Council District 32, City of Rosemead. Our committee heard 3 informational item presentations. The first one was on update from LaDonna Camille, Interim Director of Planning and Sustainability at the High Speed Rail Authority. The committee heard an update on the California High Speed Rail Authority's ongoing work and the release of the authority's draft 2026 business plan. Second item was the updated update by SCAG staff on the Connect SoCal 2024 implementation strategy. Strategies include ways in which SCAG continues to lead, partner, and support members and stakeholders as they implement the vision and goals of Connect SoCal. We work towards Connect SoCal 2028. The last update was provided on SCAG Southern California Airport Access and Mobility Study. SCAG is supporting regional airport access analysis in advance of the future big events like the Olympics and the World Cup coming to Southern California. The study is designed to support the improved planning and management of surface transportation systems connecting airports to the regional multimodal network. And that's the end. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Judge. Our first action item is the approval of Amendment Number 5 to the Executive Director's Employment Agreement. Ruben Duran, Board Counsel, is going to give the presentation.
Yes, thank you, Madam Vice President. Members of the Regional Council, starting on page 10 of your agenda packet, you have an agenda item to approve a proposed amendment to the performance to the Executive Director's Employment Agreement pursuant to a positive performance review conducted by the Executive Administration Committee at their regular meeting this past April. The terms of the employment amendment that the EAC recommends to the RC are an extension of the term from April 2027 to May 31st of 2029, extension of the employment term. And then the second proposed amendment is a salary increase of 5% in recognition of the overwhelmingly positive performance review Mr. Ajise received from the EAC. All of the previous terms of the employment agreement as amended remain in full force and effect. I am required by law to announce that should the RC approve this item, Mr. Ajise's base salary will increase to $433,784 annually under this amendment. Madam Vice President, I'm happy to answer any questions that the RC may have.
All right, before we do that, I just want to ask, Madam Clerk, are there any members of the public who wish to speak on item number 1?
Not at this time, Madam Chair.
All right.
Move
If-
for approval.
Oh, well, 1 second. I'm going to close the public comment period. And then I just want to make sure before we have a motion, were there any members of the regional council who had questions or comments on this item? All right, I will take your motion now.
Thank you. Second, Yokoyama.
All right, so we have a motion by Member Ramos and a second by Member Yokoyama. Madam Clerk?
So I will proceed to start the voting for our new members. Just so that you note on your devices, please ensure that your cards are inserted. 1 is a yes, 2 is a no, and 3 is an abstention. And I will also proceed to call on our members who are participating remotely. I'll first call on Ray Marcus. How do you vote on item 1?
Heck yes.
Thank you. Frank Navarro.
Navarro, yes.
Thank you. David Shapiro.
Yes.
Thank you. I'll give it a couple more seconds. I'll proceed to stop the vote, Madam Chair. And the motion for item 1 passes with 41 votes yes, 0 votes no, and 0 abstentions.
All right, thank you very much. That brings us to action item number 2, which is our 7th Regional Housing Needs Assessment Process and Subcommittee. Ann Johnson, I believe, is going to be giving our presentation.
Thank you, First Vice President Crosswhite and members of the Regional Council. I'm Mayan Johnson, Housing Department Manager. You have probably heard about RENA. I'd be very surprised at this point if you haven't, but consider this the first presentation in a long time on RENA. So today I'll be presenting on a brief overview of the 7th RENA cycle process and our recommended approach to the RENA subcommittee. This morning, we presented on recommended action, which, as Chair Rhodes had mentioned, was approved for recommendation by the Regional Council today. So what you have before you is a recommended action to authorize the formation of the 7th RENA cycle to support the development of the RENA methodology and allocation plan, provide recommendations to the RENA the CHD committee and this Regional Council, and serve as the final hearing body for RENA appeals, with membership composition, quorum, and voting procedures as described in the staff report. So in case you've already forgotten, the RENA process is a state-mandated planning process to determine both existing and projected housing need in California. So it occurs in 8-year planning cycles and allocates a need across income categories. So this applies to every jurisdiction, that's city and unincorporated county throughout the state. RENA is not a building quota, but it does require your jurisdiction to accommodate for housing need as measured in units through site and zoning analysis in your housing element in your general plan. So this occurs every 8 years, and recent legislation has required that HCD give us that regional housing needs determination, the RH&D, 1 year earlier in the cycle. So normally without that recent legislation, we'd be starting probably next year, but that's why you're seeing it this year right now. So there are 5 main objectives outlined in state housing law, and everything we do in RENA does have to further these 5 objectives. So I won't read it verbatim, but essentially it's to increase housing supply and mix of housing types, promoting infill development and socioeconomic equity, but also protecting environmental and agricultural resources. It also is intended to promote improved interregional relationship between jobs and housing, not allocating more of the same, so not over-concentrating income types. So we want to ensure that we look at things such as equity and also affirmatively furthering fair housing. So not just looking at income levels, but also other factors that affect access to fair housing. So this is a breakdown of the different responsibilities under the RENA process. So it starts with the California Department of Housing Community Development, HCD. They determine the regional housing needs determination, the RHND. That's the larger number you see that's given to the region. And so they assign that to the Council of Governments. And so SCAG is the Council of Governments for our region. We develop a methodology that takes the RHND and then allocates that to every jurisdiction in our region. And so based on that, we get a draft reallocation, and then we'll conduct an appeals process, and then we'll eventually adopt the final reallocation. So then your jurisdiction takes that number and updates that your housing element, and then it comes back to HCD for their review and approval. So the regional determination, just as a quick overview, it has fluctuated over the years. I started at SCAG in 2006, so this will be my fourth RENA cycle, and we've seen a lot. So for the fourth cycle, we've had about 700,000 units assigned to the region. That dipped to 412,000 for the fifth cycle due to some anomalies in the market. The sixth cycle, there's a lot of sticker shock, so that was about 3 times as high, 1.3 million. I see a lot of smiles because many of you do remember that time. The seventh cycle, we put a question mark. We're going to start over and under soon, but we don't expect it to go below what you saw for the sixth cycle. There are new factors required by legislation. HCD does, how they apply these factors does also affect that number. And so we're also seeing for other COGs, they have gotten some early indication that their numbers may be higher. So we are, if you will, looking forward to the seventh cycle RHND and working with our subcommittee, CHD, and regional council on the process. So for the sixth cycle methodology, every COG and every cycle can differ in the methodology. So what you see here, what I'm going to describe, isn't necessarily what we're going to do for the seventh cycle. But just to give you a sense of how we got the reallocation, for the sixth cycle, we looked at the factors such as share of household growth as based on the growth forecast in the Connect SoCal plan, job access. So for the sixth cycle, this was defined as jobs accessible within a 30-minute drive commute. There are different definitions that can be used, but that's what was decided for the sixth cycle. Same thing with transit access. So we used what we called a high quality transit area. So those are light and heavy rail stations and bus stops that have 15 or more minute headways at peak commuting hours. Quite a mouthful, but again, there are different definitions that you could use for transit access. And we'll also include a review of those as part of the development of the seventh cycle methodology. And then we also looked at household income distribution and other indicators of resources as to further AFFH, one of the RENA objectives. So we looked at environmental, education, and economy factors in determining social equity. And so those are the primary factors used for the formula for the sixth cycle RENA. But again, for the seventh cycle, we'll be looking at other factors as well before we finally decide and adopt the methodology. So this is just a visualization of the job accessibility factor, just so you can understand some method to the madness. But for job access, defined as jobs accessible within a 30-minute drive commute, you can see for the SCAG region, there's a higher concentration, a higher percentage for our urban and coastal areas. So this had a large factor in how RENA was distributed across the region. So this is just a quick Venn diagram of the overlap. What we try to do here at SCAG is connect it to our regional planning efforts, including Connect SoCal. So some overlap on the jobs housing relationship, land conservation, looking at regional greenhouse gas considerations, infill efficient development patterns. RENA does need to have a connection to Connect SoCal. And so as part of the methodology, these are part of the considerations as we further our 5 objectives. So the seventh RENA timeline. By law, HCD is required to start consulting with the COGs, so with SCAG and the Department of Finance by August of this year. So again, this is 1 year earlier than prior cycles. So by August, they'll need to reach out to us, but we are trying to connect with them now, so at least we have a sense of what our official timelines will be. They are going to give us our regional housing determination by October. So again, that's the large number. So in about 4 months, we'll have an RHND for the region. After that point, SCAG will start developing its draft methodology. So to get to that point, there are public hearings, public engagement processes, lots of opportunities to provide public comment, and we'll be working with the RENA subcommittee, CEHD, and this regional council to eventually develop that. And then we'll submit a draft methodology to HCD. They have 60 days to provide comments. In prior cycles, they provide comments, and then we would proceed with adopting a final methodology. Recent legislation has also now required that if HED does have comments, we are required to address it and get their approval of our final methodology before we can adopt. So it is unknown at this point what comments are going to provide because we don't have the methodology. So we want to make sure in our overall schedule that we can build it in and make sure we have adequate time to review and bring it back through our appropriate process to get the approval to get to the final methodology. But once we have the final methodology, we'll be able to distribute a draft RENA allocation, and then we'll start our appeals process. I know many of you are ready to appeal your RENA already. We'll get there, don't worry. But the RENA subcommittee would then hear all appeals. And then once that's concluded, we will then have the final allocation plan. And we anticipate that by October of 2028. And then jurisdictions will have about 1 year to finalize and adopt their housing elements. You'll notice as well, due to recent legislation, that housing elements are due at a later time. They're due 6 months later for jurisdictions within LA County and Imperial County. So jurisdictions there, housing elements are due in April 2030. So the RENA subcommittee, its purpose is to help develop the RENA methodology and make recommendations to CHD and regional council for furthering the methodology, either the proposed methodology release, the draft allocation, and then the final allocation. And it will also serve as the final hearing body to determine RENA appeals. So their decisions would not be the recommended approach is that they are the final hearing body to determine every appeal that has been filed. Our recommended approach also differs from prior cycles. If some of you who have been through prior cycles, we had one primary and one alternate member from each county. So there'd be a total of 12 members and only 6 of them could vote. So our approach is a little more inclusive this cycle. So we'll have up to 4 members appointed by the SCAG president for Los Angeles County, 3 for each Orange, Riverside, and San Bernardino counties, 2 each from Ventura and Imperial counties. So instead of 12 members, we would expand the membership up to 17. So in addition to supporting development of the RENA methodology and allocation plan and providing recommendations and serving as the final hearing body for RENA appeals, we also recommend that the regional council authorize membership composition and for the members to be limited to CEHD members who also serve on the regional council and be appointed by the SCAG president. If there's insufficient geographic representation, we're also recommending that the SCAG president may appoint other regional council members to serve and fill those vacancies. And then this was recommended, sorry, I just read you from CHD, but that there was a recommendation this morning to this body. And then with that, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you have.
All right. Let me first start by asking if we have any members of the public wishing to speak on this item.
Not received any interest, Madam Chair.
Okay, then I will close the public comment period and move to regional council members with questions or comments on this item. Margaret Finley.
Thank you. Mayan, now maybe this is just my my cynical thoughts on this, but up in Sacramento, are there a bunch of people sitting around in kind of a smoke-filled room and talking about this, or is it something more open than that? And is this something where we camp out up there for the next couple of months to say, we know what you gave us before, let's not overdo it again? So how does that work?
You are not the first person to use that metaphor in describing the talks with HCD. We do make every effort to make it as transparent as possible. We have requested information from HCD. Anything we receive from them, we do make publicly available. We share with their appropriate channels. And we're always trying to open that conversation with them and sharing with the public so it's not a black box. We can't control for what their final decisions are, but in an effort to keep it transparent and fair, we do try to publish everything that we receive.
We're up there giving input to them.
Yes, as part of the consultation process, in the past, we have sent staff up there to talk about the process, provide data points, and try to be as accurate as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
Just to that point about dealing with HCD, President Marquez actually has asked for a meeting with the state, and we're looking to set that up pretty quickly.
all right. Member Elias.
Thank you. I brought this up during our CEHD committee, but I figured I'd bring it up to this body as well. I have some concern with the membership makeup. Being in LA County, we have 3 times the amount of the next largest county and only 1 more member representing us. In a county as big as Los Angeles County, it's so diverse and there's so many different regions of even that one county. So I would just ask that our regional council president take that into consideration when he is selecting members from each of the counties, that hopefully it will give kind of a broad representation of what the county looks like. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Member Doby.
Thank you. And this is my second time hearing this, so it triggered another question. So you mentioned now at least twice that they will more than likely, and I'm praying against it, but they will more than likely increase our number. Is that because they might be looking at allowing redevelopment to come back to the table, or student housing, or even senior facilities, or are they just expecting us to home all the homeless or the unsheltered, whether they would like it or not?
Sure. So on the other factor, well, the one I've seen, because they did publish a report a few years ago on how they'd like to reform the RHNA process. And the first recommendation was to include homeless and houseless populations and individuals as part of the process. So there are things such as adding additional income categories. So instead of 4, it goes to 6. And the RHNA subcommittee will do a very big deep dive. But one main component was to also include homelessness as one of the factors for the RHND. And so that alone, we don't have any data points with them right now on how they're going to do it. But we do have some ideas on how we'd like to suggest. But that factor alone will then increase the number if they keep everything the same from last time. And then also how they apply things. And I don't have a chart in front of me, so I don't want to go into like, here's a formula and here's math. But how they apply these factors will also slightly change as required by recent statute. And so based on those factors alone, if everything else from the 6 cycle stays the same, we would expect an increase. So that's why I do say I don't want, I mean, we will be pleasantly surprised if it goes down. So it's probably better now just to assume the numbers will go up.
All right, Supervisor Spiegel.
So when HCD does this, we're now beginning, what kind of background? I mean, when we say HCD, do they have planning folks there to realize what it takes to have that much housing? And the fact that California does not allow a capacity building on our freeways that are already overpacked to, even if it's transit that cannot move onto the freeways. I'm looking at the primary factors is transit and job accessibility, which both will be ill and null in some areas within Southern California because of the overusage. And I get it, but we have choices of where we live. And I realize that the whole concept is we have to offer more housing to those that want to live here. But there gets to be a point to where you're so saturated that you can't meet the daily and quality of life needs if you continue to force housing and not have the ability to offset it through planning and whatever for your jobs and for your various other factors that are involved with the necessity. So that's my real concern, is that do they ever look at the challenges that we, as representatives for our local jurisdictions, have to face when you add that much capacity?
At least during the RH&D process, they do look at data points, and then they have their own policies on what they think our numbers should be for the region. Whether or not they get into other factors, as you mentioned, other policy decisions, they haven't published anything along those lines. So I wouldn't be able to comment on the HCD line of thinking there.
And the other question is, when you were talking about the two dates, where is it? Page. You talked, oh, on a timeline. You said October 29th, and then you said April 2030 was for LA and
LA and Imperial County jurisdictions.
why are those longer, 6 months later?
So I believe the line of thinking when the legislation had passed was that HCD, because SCAG represents about half of the state and number of jurisdictions, and so it helps stagger the review, so there'd be less bottleneck when HCD reviews SCAG level or SCAG area housing elements, because they're due all at once. So it was to stagger the review and try to remove bottlenecks.
That point right there is exactly going back to the reference to my first comment, and that is, if we have such a large number, why do we keep getting those large numbers to add than in the other areas within the state? If we have such representation down here in Southern California, that is there a fair allocation of numbers? Have we really looked at those allocations?
We could review, and as part of the RENA subcommittee, share other COG RH&Ds. Whether or not that's fair, I wouldn't be able to comment on other COGs, but we have heard complaints from other COGs about the sticker shock compared to prior cycles. So I can tell you that much.
I mean, COGs, I'm talking northern, not the southern.
Or SANDAG or ABAG, the four major MPO COGs, but I wouldn't be able to comment on their behalf.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Member Manos?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. First, wish to offer myself up to serve on the subcommittee. I have a background in housing, business economics, major at UCLA, and feel like I could probably contribute something pretty heartily to this. The Inland Empire is one of the fastest growing regions in terms of housing, with some of the slowest growing jobs in the region at the same time. And so this is contributing to the greater growth of traffic and whatnot, getting to job areas. And that's a challenge. It's certainly something that should be considered. I would also, I'm surprised that they would consider for the HCD to say that there's going to be even greater growth, as there's been a net negative out migration from the state of California that's been documented. And seeing that there's nothing in the near future that would change that direction, I don't understand how they come to their calculations. I would like to dig into that and really question the methodology that they're utilizing to go ahead and determine that there's just going to be all this growth when we're losing congressional seats because of net out migration. So I have challenges with that. I had challenges last time, obviously, as many people did. But I'm sure there's an equitable way to go ahead and consider that moving forward, and maybe in a positive way that we could go ahead and utilize it to go ahead and have a discussion about legislative actions that actually restrict the housing that the state says they want, but with one hand, and then with the other hand, they keep it from happening. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Member Yokoyama?
Thank you, Vice President. Thank you for the report, Mayan. Is it estimated that the regional council meeting to do the approval of the final methodology, would that be in March of 2028?
similar to how we approved it here in Regional Council in March of 2020?
So we are targeting that spring. I wouldn't be able to tell you the exact month because the final methodology would be dependent on how long HCD would take to get back to us with comments, and whether or not there are any substantive changes that then we need to come back and then they would need to approve. So I wasn't able to really pinpoint. I don't want to say March, you mark your calendar and it doesn't happen in March, but we are aiming for spring before we release the draft allocation.
Which is on your timeline as April 2028.
That's what we're aiming for.
So we need to approve the final methodology before that if
that.
we're going to make that April 2028 draft SCAG allocation plan.
That's the intent.
Okay, thank you.
And then member Byers?
Thank you. And I asked this question in the CEHC Policy Committee, but I think for the Regional Council, the 4 different cycles you shared on the screen, each of them tell a story, and there's a story to be told about what happened to our region because of the decision-making of this body and the number of units that were built. There's a story about affordability, about migration loss. There is a future story about congressional seats lost. So I'm curious about the sort of data and analysis that the subcommittee will be participating in to review and reflect on the history of decision-making, the consequences of decision-making, and how we want to build a different future through this opportunity.
We can certainly go over the regional determinations, the historical ones, the factors for the various ones at the RENA subcommittee.
All right, that's the last of the comments that I see. For those of you who already commented, if you just check to make sure your placard went down so we can reset before the next item, that would be much appreciated. And do we have a motion for item 2, the 7th
I'll
RENA
move it.
process subcommittee? Oh gosh, we had a couple. I think I had Gardner and Dobie. All right. All right, we'll do first by Dobie and second by Gardner. Madam Clerk, would you please open the voting?
The voting is now open. And I will proceed to ask Member Marcus how he votes on item number 2.
Yes.
Thank you. Member Navarro, how do you vote?
Navarro, yes.
Member Shapiro, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. And I will proceed to stop the vote. And the motion for item 2 passes with 39 votes yes, 0 votes no, and 0 abstentions.
All right, thank you very much.
If I can repeat that, I'm sorry, my mic was off.
Oh, yeah, sure.
It passes with 39 votes yes, 0 votes no, and 0 abstentions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. Do we have any, this brings us to the consent calendar. Do we have any members of the public who wish to speak on the consent calendar?
None at this time.
Okay. And with that, in order to save time, if anyone is wanting to pull any items from the consent calendar, I'm going to ask that we do the staff presentation before moving to any votes on the consent calendar. Were there any members of the RC wanting to pull anything from the consent calendar?
Member Navarro, we do see that your hand is up. And your mic is off.
My hand is up to move the item. Thank you.
All right. So Mr. Navarro went ahead and made a motion. Do we have a second on the consent calendar?
Wood.
A second from Wood. All right. So that'll be for all of the items on the consent calendar. Madam Clerk, can you please open the voting?
The voting is now open. And I'll proceed to ask Member Marcus, how do you cast your vote for the consent?
Yes.
Thank you. Member Navarro?
Navarro, yes.
Thank you. And Member Shapiro?
Yes.
Thank you. I'll proceed to stop the vote, Madam Chair. And the motion for the consent calendar passes with 39 votes yes, 0 votes no, and 0 abstentions.
All right, thank you very much. That brings us to our informational items. So we have our quarterly economic update. Kevin Payne, Planning Supervisor, will introduce the item.
Good afternoon, Madam Vice President, members of the Regional Council, Kevin Kane, Supervisor of the Demographics and Growth Vision Program. So I'm a SCAG demographer and kind of interim economist-ish, so to speak. But we usually provide a quarterly economic update here, courtesy of our Economic Roundtable. But we've got a special treat here for you today because we are kind of between quarterly Economic Roundtables. We rejigger it a little bit every 3 years. What I want to do here is introduce my former colleague, Dr. Gigi Moreno, who served as SCAG's economist up until about 2 years ago in 2024. She is here in her capacity as an independent economist, but her role is also as the chief economist of the California Energy Commission's Department of Petroleum Market Oversight. So she left here for greener pastures to do that work. But she's happy to come back and share a economic update for the SCAG region, given her knowledge of the region and some of what she's learned since then. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Gigi Moreno.
Good afternoon. Can you guys hear me okay? Good afternoon, Vice President Crosswhite and members of the Regional Council. Thank you for the opportunity to present this SCAG Region Quarterly Economic Update to you guys. Today, I'll cover 3 areas: employment, housing, and broader economic outlook. And I'll talk a little bit about what's driving prices for our residents. So let me start where we stand with jobs. The SCAG region unemployment rate is essentially flat from last quarter at 5%. Through April of this year, the SCAG region total payroll employment jobs were modestly down by about 20,000 compared to a year ago. So you must be wondering, well, what's holding job growth back? Well, 2 possible structural factors may be at play here. First, employment and the labor force are shrinking at about the same rate. And second, AI adoption appears to be dampening hiring, particularly in the high-tech sectors. Earlier this week, the UCLA Anderson forecast reported an AI-related decrease in professional, business, and financial services jobs across the state of California. However, they did point out that they're starting to see growth in civil and electrical engineering jobs, which support data center development. Regionally, the healthcare and social assistance sector continues to be the primary growth engine, and to some extent for the rest of California too. So I'd like to shed a little bit of light on the region's stable unemployment rate at 5%. It may sound reassuring, but this stability may not necessarily be a sign of strength, and we need to be aware of that. It reflects the fact that both employment and labor force participation are declining at the same rate, which we have observed in every month this year. So what's going on? People are either withdrawing from the labor force when they can't find jobs, or they're just leaving the region. So Orange County saw the sharpest year-over-year decline in jobs, down 11,000 jobs. That's less than 1%. Los Angeles County also saw a small decline in employment, but the Inland Empire and Imperial County posted small job gains. Now for some genuinely encouraging news, housing production is picking up. As noted in SCAG's December report, housing production in the region has demonstrated long-run stability, averaging 45 to 50,000 permitted units annually since the mid-2010s, with a slight dip in 24 and 25. Now, early 2026 census building permit data has shown an upswing in permitting in the region. As of April, the region permitted over 19,000 new units. That's a 43% increase from last year. We are on pace for a notably stronger year on housing. Los Angeles County accounted for more than 11,000 of those units. And within that, the city of Los Angeles is a standout story. The city permitted over 9,000 units through April of this year. Now, for context, the city permitted 11,200 units in all of 2025. It has already produced over 80% of the last year's total in just 4 months. Now, the census data are not the only housing data, but consistent with the census building permit data, the city of Los Angeles reports that its recently launched housing element has been strong. and may be contributing to this. So what explains this surge in housing permits? This change may reflect a new trend or a short-term boost. Either way, it shows that policy changes can affect region-wide housing numbers. It is still early, but it is encouraging. This is an encouraging sign that policy is starting to move the needle on housing. Earlier this week, UCLA Anderson Forecast reported that the state is generating stronger growth than the nation, but weaker job growth. So what does this mean? This means productivity gains are outpacing hiring. And so looking ahead, the ongoing headwinds from immigration policy, global conflict and uncertainty related to that, and tariffs continue to weigh on California employment in 2026, but the forecast expects California to return to stronger growth in 2027 and 2028. In April, the regional inflation rate increased from 3.4% compared to a year ago. And since the start of the war in Iran, gasoline and diesel prices in the region have risen by 31%. Our residents are feeling this. Brown University estimates that the war has increased household gasoline costs in California by about $208 per household on average. And despite the high gasoline prices in California, more gasoline-dependent states such as Arizona, Texas, Utah, Alabama face even higher increases in gasoline costs. They range from $247 per household to $332 per household. So California has, despite our high prices, and I know that it hurts consumers, we have been a little bit more resilient than many other states with respect to gasoline prices. So to summarize, employment is flat but stable. Housing production is showing real momentum, particularly in Los Angeles County and the city of Los Angeles, but cost pressures remain a concern for residents. So you can get more of the details on these economic indicators at SCAG's Economics Trends tool. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you very much. I first want to start by asking if we have any members of the public wishing to speak on this item.
None at this time.
All right, thank you. With that, I will close the public comment period and ask if there are members of the Regional Council who want to speak on this item. Member Warren?
I just wanted to ask, you mentioned that the housing policies are enacting now. Sounds like that's contributing to, can you just give us just a quick, which housing policies?
I'm not an expert on the housing policies, but Kevin is, so I'm gonna turn it over to him.
Member Warren, the specific statistic that we really noticed standing out like a sore thumb, a good sore thumb though, I guess if you can say that, was from kind of a regular update on building permit data. We probed a little bit more deeply and noticed this is really driven by City of Los Angeles's housing permitting numbers, which shot through the roof in the first quarter. We did speak with some city staff on this to kind of generally get a sense of what's going on. There was some theorization, is this kind of wildfire related, but that doesn't seem to explain the full magnitude. But what does seem to be the case is that throughout 2025, they did have pretty much full implementation of their CHIP program, their citywide housing element implementation program, for which uptake was quite strong. So, we seem pretty confident that, that this is at least to some degree, reflective of that policy really coming into full play through 2026. Obviously, as Gigi mentioned, just one data source, but goodness, this really stood out for a regional trend. So we thought it worth kind of highlighting in this context. Yeah.
Any other questions?
All right, I'm not seeing any other public comments on this item, or on Regional Council comments on this item. With that, that brings us, so thank you very much for the presentation. That was very interesting. All right, that brings us to our business presidents and executive directors reports. Do we have any members of the public wishing to speak on those items?
Not at this time.
All right. So as most of us probably know, Lucy Dunn has ended her tenure as our business representative, and we do wish her well. Her presence is already missed. Our new business representative is going to be Paul Granillo, and who could not be with us today, but we will do a proper introduction when he joins us at the July meeting. So now we'll have our president and executive director reports. President Marquez.
Jenny, thank you so much. First of all, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to our new regional council members, Tanya Doby from Los Alamitos Regional Council District 20, Andy Karsinian from Glendale Regional Council District 42, Jim Light, Redondo Beach Regional Council District 40, Steve Lai, Rosemead Regional Council District 32, and then also Paul Carnillo, our new business representative. I want to thank everybody who attended the 2026 Regional Council and General Assembly last month. It was an excellent event, and I appreciate everybody being there. We had over 900 leaders from across the region joining us for an informative gathering in Palm Desert. After our Regional Council and General Assembly meeting, we heard from excellent speakers during the panels and keynotes. The City of Riverside took top honors in the 2026 Sustainability Awards. We hope to see you next year's event, May 6th and 7th, 2027, at the JW Marriott Desert Springs Resort and Spa in Palm Desert. Last month, I led a delegation of regional council members and SCAG staff to Washington, D.C. We advanced the SCAG's federal priorities: surface transportation reauthorization, the 2028 Olympics and Paralympic Games funding, and then also housing. We actually participated in a lot of meetings, but actually it was 21 meetings with members of Congress and their staff, as well as committee and agency staff. We wrapped up the trip with our annual California Congressional Transportation Reception, which SCAG co-hosts with our Bay Area partners at the Metropolitan Transportation Commission. The event drew over 200 attendees, including was former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Representatives Latifah Simmons, Representative Maxine Waters. We really appreciated that they were all there joining us. The regional council meeting, the next meeting will be held on Thursday, July 2nd, 2026 at 11:45 a.m. And I just want to call out our VP, Jenny Crosswhite. Thank you for hosting this meeting. Thank you. And that's it. And let me go over to Comey now, our executive director.
Thank you, President Marquez, and thank you, Vice President Crosswhite. Good afternoon. First of all, I want to thank you for the approval of my contract. Really appreciate it. It's an honor to continue to serve you and serve this great region and have the privilege of leading the best staff in the business. So I just want to thank you for that. Earlier on today, there was an action by CHD. You probably would have heard about it along the lines of approving the methodology and approach to how we deal with SB 79. SB 79 is the law that basically calls on SCAG to map transit-oriented development stops along transit stops. There was a good, vigorous discussion at CHD. That action that they took today will come to you on July 2nd for your consideration and action. We're required to have the maps produced and the methodology approved and hopefully published by the first of the month in July. We happen to have a meeting on the 2nd, and so it would have to wait one more day for that meeting before we could publish the maps. According to state guidance and the language of SB 79, LA County is currently the only urban county, and that's a statutory definition in the SCAG region, which means it's the only county that's affected by SB 79 at this point in time. We expect that other counties will come in line, especially Orange County, as soon as the OC streetcar is in revenue service. We expect that would trigger Orange County as an urban county. We will continue to update the maps on an annual basis or when there's a significant need to update the map. So you will continue to hear about SB 79, unfortunately, for a while.
Just a small clarification. The map will be live by the deadline of July 1st. The methodology will be here for approval on July 2nd, but we will be in compliance with the requirement to have the map by July 1st.
This is why I say I have the best staff in the business. That's my attorney correcting me. I appreciate that. Yeah, don't send letters. Maps will be online on the 1st. We'll comply with the law. So the preliminary published maps will be done as the attorney just said. There are corrections that we expect to get from folks. We're leaving that open until the 12th of June to send us for folks to send us corrections as they may see fit, and then we'll take those into consideration when we present the final methodology and approach to the regional council on the 2nd of July. Connect SoCal implementation strategies update is one of the things I wanted to run by you, because oftentimes we do this work and we don't come back and tell you what's going on. So when we adopted Connect SoCal 2024, April of 2024, there were 93 strategies that you all adopted as a regional council. We've made progress on 84 of those 93 strategies. And as of the last update, there are some key milestones that we've reached as a result of tracking those strategies. For example, regional coordination and preparation for increased travel demand for the 2026 FIFA World Cup and the 2028 Olympic and Paralympic Games have been in process and done. Regional Council approved the Surface Transportation Block Grant and the Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Funding recommendations last winter. That was another milestone. Publication of the State of the Region report, and also the delivery of our Regional Resilience Toolkit. We also, as one of those strategies, launched the Smart Cities Strategic Plan effort. So these are some elements, and I welcome any request to get updates on how we're doing on the 24 plan, especially as we're kicking off the next plan that will be adopted in 28. Last month, I had the privilege of joining several regional and local leaders to celebrate the ribbon cutting in Calexico. This is for the Calexico Intermodal Transportation Center, which brings mobility, safety, and sustainability benefits to Imperial County. This project benefited from $1 million from the Regional Council's approval of REAP 2.0 dollars. This fund supported the project site acquisition, and it's been really impressive at the rate at which the project came to life, and it's already built and in operation as we speak. SCAG has been a partner on this project for more than a decade. We earlier on funded a feasibility study along with Caltrans, ICTC, the City of Calexico, to identify and evaluate the project site. On June 8, SCAG will release the SoCal Green Print tool. I cannot believe I'm still talking about green print. If you know, you know. The SoCal Green Print is an optional, flexible, and open conservation-focused data mapping tool that supports regional advanced mitigation planning initiatives. This is a tool that is a response to our planning efforts to make sure that we provide enough information base for folks to make decisions as they get into project development. The Energy and Environment Committee will receive a presentation on the SoCal Green Print at their July meeting. And then lastly, every 4 years, we are evaluated by the federal government, and the federal certification review process commenced earlier on last month, actually. Every 4 years, we go through this evaluation with the Federal Highway Administration and the Federal Transit Administration to review our certification as a metropolitan planning organization. This is really a license to practice. And as a reminder, this review process includes a public comment period during which comments may be provided to these agencies about how SCAG conducts its transportation planning processes. That comment period is still open. It's still open through June 15. The address for providing comments has been in all of our newsletters, and it is on our website. So if you still have comments, please go ahead and share your comments with our federal partners. And if you want to share that with your network, we would really appreciate it. We feel like the more folks that have a chance to comment on our processes, the better for us. We've always maintained that feedback is a gift for us around here at SCAG. And that's all I have to report, Madam Vice President. I'd be glad to take any questions.
Are there any questions from members of the Regional Council? Member Goodsell.
Goodsell.
Not a question, a comment. Thank you for coming down to Calexico and joining us for the ribbon cutting. It was quite the accomplishment, a long, arduous process. We got her done, and we so appreciate SCAG's help with getting it done. Thank you.
All right. I'm not seeing any other questions or comments. So thank you, Mr. Ajise, for your robust presentation. That brings us to future agenda items. Do we have any requests for future agenda items? I'm not seeing any. Not seeing any. All right, so that brings us to announcements. Do we have any announcements today? All right. I don't know what that was all about, but I don't have any announcements. I don't see any announcements. So with that,